Welcome back. We're looking at Unit 28 in this video, so let's jump right in. We're going to really be covering a lot of basically if statements in different forms in this unit across these three notes. So let's look at note 28.1 and the hypothetical condition. I'll read the example sentence there. Shemagale balhon noro, what America mehedina mamar, bawadadhu nabur. If I weren't an old man, I would like to go to America to study. If you remember back to note 14.3, or you can take a look back there, you'll remember that that covered the simple and indefinite conditional sentences where you saw the prefix. And this sentence here, though, in this unit, covers the use of what's called an unreal or hypothetical condition. Referring back to that, if I weren't an old man, so presumably this is an old man saying this, so it's a hypothetical that is not going to be true, and it's broken up into two parts. There's the main clause, which is everything after the comma, what America mehedina mamar, bawadadhu nabar, and that's made up of especially that last part, bawadadhu nabar. You have the b prefix to a perfective verb form, and then you have the verb form nabur. And then in the if clause, shemagale balhon noro, you have the b prefix with a short imperfective form plus the verb form noro. And that's the construction there. So looking at these examples, ganzeb benoring noro, what a cinema bet behedu nabar. If I had money, I would have gone to the movies. Again, something that wasn't going to happen. It's not a possibility. It's a hypothetical, but it's not something that, because it happened in the past and it's just not going to happen. And then going to the second example, Tenantena Baya Noro, Dabdawan, Basatahu Nabar. If I had seen you yesterday, I would have given you the letter. Ganzeb bagan noro makina bagazao nabar. If I had money, I would have bought a car. Tenantana mata zenab baizemb noro shudder behedin nabar. If it hadn't rained yesterday, we would have gone for a walk. Betatayiken noro benagarhu nabar. If you had asked me, I would have told you. And that should cover it for note 28.1. And now we look at note 28.2, and we're going to look at the inda prefix. And again, I'll read the first example sentence here. Wand waimseit lejot shindaluo, what America malak yichilalu. If you have children, you can send them to America. And this references back to note 10.2.1. where the first time where we saw those inda constructions were discussed, and we saw different examples, different ways that it was used. Here, as you see from the example, we're using the inda prefix with a verb form of Allah plus an object suffix pronoun there. So you have inda and then aluo with that object suffix pronoun, that second person, the polite version of it. It corresponds to if sentences in English, but it raises the question of what's the difference between the inda prefix and the b prefix. The main difference is that b prefix is used in a construction where you're referring to something in the future, whereas inda is used when you're talking about a situation that exists at the time of speaking. So inda is right now, b is for the future. And let's look at a couple examples there, where it shows you the contrast. You'll see this in this list. Gize binora, what is cinema beit in nahid. If you have time, let's go to the movies. And then, but alternatively, you can say Gize indala, what is cinema beit in nahid. If you have time right now, let's go to the movies. Ganda binoro, what America yehedal. If he has money, he'll go to America. Ganda bindalo, what America yehedal. If he has money right now, he'll go to America. So you see the difference there. And you'll see the contrast in that section of examples. Then the next point to bring up is you have inda that can be used with the perfective of the verb form mahon, to be. And so you have the resulting forms indahonu, indahon, indahona, etc. And it corresponds to, if it's the case that I am, you are, he is, it is, etc. right now, while the b forms with the mahon verb, binora, binorin, binora, binora, binorish, binoro, those correspond to if I am, if you are, if he is, etc. in the future. So the same contrast there with the ala verb forms still comes over to the mahon verb forms. And again, this next set of examples will run you through some contrasts. Naga ayaru turu bihon wada tarara ehedalo. The weather's good tomorrow, I'll go to the mountains. Ayaru turu indahon wada tarara ehedalo. If the weather's good right now, I'll go to the mountains. Duru tamari bihon wada America iloko Allah. If he proves to be a good student, I'll send him to America. Duru tamari indahona wada America iloko Allah. If this is the case that he is a good student right now, I'll send him to America. So that's the contrast that you see there, again, in the future versus right now. And again, one last look back to 10.2, where we saw that it can also, the inda constructions can also correspond to the meaning as soon as. And so with this construction, then the meaning is it can be a bit ambiguous, or at least it's a little fluid, because it can mean both. Like, for example, the last example that they give us, ganzab indalo, what America yehedal, it can mean if he has money, he'll go to America. Or it could also mean he'll go to America as soon as he has the money. So there's a little bit of fluidity in the meaning of the construction there, but something to just keep in mind that it has those two senses, which I think you can see are kind of related. But depending on the context, you'll know which the speaker, really means. So that covers it, though, for note 28.2, and let's move on. Now we'll finish out with note 28.3 and the use of impersonal verbs. I'll read the examples here that they give us. Raft silanabarat raswan yamatal. She suffers from headaches because she didn't have any rest. Kalos tinish rabonyal. As a matter of fact, I'm hungry. Enem rabonyal tamtonyalam. And I'm both hungry and thirsty. If you remember from note 20.2, we looked at impersonal constructions. There's a brief note back there. And what these examples show is the use of impersonal verbs, which are verbs that are used only in this type of construction, and where you'll see the use of a third person masculine singular verb form plus a suffix object pronoun. And that's because of the verb is transitive. So to give you a look at a couple more examples, as it shows here, rabin or rabonyal, I'm hungry. Yarabinyal, I'll be hungry. Amamachu or amoachual, you plural, you all are sick. Amoachu napar, you all were sick. Yamachual, you all will be sick. And what this shows is you see perfective and present perfect forms being used, and the situation exists at the time of the speaking. I'm hungry, you're sick. then, and as I mentioned before, these verb forms can be transitive, or they are transitive, and so they can have a direct object, as in the case of rasen amonial, I have a headache, but literally means it hurts my head. Amonial, you see that third person masculine singular. It is hurting rasen, my head, and the n sound is that direct object suffix. Or injera rebonyal, I am hungry for bread. Waha tumtonal, we are thirsty. So that's it for 28.3, and that finishes unit 28. And thanks for sticking with me again through this, and we'll keep trucking along to unit 29. Thanks.